So one strategy that has been used quite successfully is to use multiple ways of storytelling. It helps students who are on the spectrum. It helps students with different proficiency levels as well. And to be flexible in how they tell the stories. For instance, it could be presented in a visual, with a mind map. It could be presented with graphic organizers. You know, graphic novels are increasingly popular, I think. Actually, in Singapore, it is one of the genres that's most bought and sold, I suppose, after crime fiction. Second, have open-ended writing prompts in the classroom. It encourages them to improve while they also feel successful. So you empower the child. You support the process, not only the product, right? And this can spark creativity in them. How do you do that? One example would be a prompt such as write about a memorable journey. And of course, the responses you're going to get are going to be varied, right? If it's someone with a limited proficiency, it's simpler sentences, simpler ideas. Someone with higher proficiency, of course, it's going to be far more complex statements. Sorry, I'm just... I'm not able to move the slides. All right, thank you. Another prompt would be a place that you feel safe. And you would have a wide range of writing. The screeners would like a wide range of writing, right from metaphorical descriptions and imagination of what a safe space is, right down to, of course, descriptive statements about it and paragraphs about it. One suggestion, of course, would be for you to provide additional scaffolding for those who would need this, through sentences, to short prompts, etc. And leave it open for those with higher ability and with higher SEN needs. The third strategy, as you can see, I'm really rushing. The third strategy would be to be flexible. And this would be, I think, one of the key things from today's talk, at least that I hope, from my part of today's talk, that I hope you take away with you. One of the studies that has baffled me or always stayed in my heart is a large study conducted in Canada on examining literacy practices by the ministry. So a team of researchers went into the classrooms and then, got students, gave them this prompt, can you draw a picture of someone reading or writing? It can be a picture of something you do at home, at school, and you can draw what you want or write what you want, essentially. They got lots of responses, they left, and there were a couple of people who did not, answer the prompt, right? And this was one child, Dustin. Of course, it's a pseudonym, and this is what the child wrote. And I know it's not too clear, but really what the child was talking about was something he wasn't supposed to be talking about in Canada. So when the study was all done and dusted and presented as papers, etc., one researcher went back, and he thought, and went back to look at the outliers. In any, you're always wondering what's happening with the outliers, right? And saw this drawing and went to the student and interviewed the student. And this is what the student said. Apparently in the classroom, the student was already moving about, being disruptive, etc. And when they told the student to do the task, the student was intrigued that the student could write anything. He had asked, I could write anything? He was like, yeah, anything. Really? And I wasn't, once he established he was not going to get into trouble with the teacher or the authorities, he went ahead and drew what he did every weekend. So his weekends were not made up of reading activities or writing activities, right? And that's what he revealed in the interview. So he said, we're not allowed to write anything with violence. We're not allowed to. So there were all these, we have to write what the teacher wants us to do. It was an interesting moment, I think, in literacy studies itself, because it was a child's way of rebelling, certainly, but it was also a child's way of telling you what's happening and what he or she is interested in writing about. Now, only when we are flexible with our prompts would we be able to elicit lots of writing and to develop the writer and to focus on the process. It goes very much in line with the first keynote address we heard, as well as Professor Jatini's description of the leaves and drawing that he shared with us. So we are all in line with the same thing. Then comes assessment. So I am a teacher educator, so I do know that at the forefront, whenever we roll out new curriculums, and we are focusing on, these are the things we've incorporated. We have incorporated AI. We've taken note of the different grammar syllabus that we want you to deliver, etc. We're talking about these things, right? And the hand always goes up. So how do we assess that? So how does this translate into students' groups? Well, look out. One thing you could do is to look out for the child's personal voice and to also credit for creativity. That's one thing you can do in formal assessment, which we are doing in Singapore right now. The other, and that would be summative, right? So for formative assessment, consider peer feedbacks as well, which is something that Geeta also shared a few minutes ago. Okay, very quickly in summation, it helps creative writing integrated into the English language classroom, helps with the mastery of language as well as develops the child. It helps certainly develop their critical thinking as well as creative writing and gives them greater mastery. And it certainly will encourage them to take on, to learn, to read, to write, to look at arts, to look at the arts, to look at the languages as something that is part of their lifelong learning. Yeah? Thank you very much. I think that's the quickest I've spoken and delivered a talk.